Tonight, after the sun goes down, look up. If you can get far enough from a city, you'll see somewhere between 2 and 3,000 stars. The exact same stars the first humans saw. The same points of light in almost the same positions, burning so slowly that 100,000 years barely moves them. But here's the difference between you and them. You know what those lights are. Burning balls of gas so far away, the light hitting your eye tonight left some of them before you were born. They had none of that. No word for star. No idea there was such a thing as distance you measure in light. No concept of space at all. They just looked up into the dark every single night of their lives at the most spectacular thing any human has ever seen and had to work out from absolutely nothing what it meant. Tonight, we're going to follow that question. What did the first humans think those lights were? And by the end, you'll see that almost everything, time, religion, navigation, science itself, began the moment a human looked up and refused to look away. First, you have to understand what they actually saw, because you, almost certainly, never have. Today, if you live in a city, you might see a few dozen stars on a good night. A smudge of orange haze, a handful of bright dots, and that's it. According to a global study of light pollution published in 2016, a third of all humans alive can no longer see the Milky Way at all. In Europe, it's 60%. In North America, nearly 80%. We have quietly erased the night sky. But for the first humans, the sky was not a few dots. It was an ocean. On a truly dark night with no moon and no city for 100 miles, the stars don't look scattered. They look crowded. Thousands of them in layers, some sharp and some faint, all the way down to the horizon. And across the middle of it, a vast glowing band of pale light, the combined glow of 400 billion stars in our own galaxy, seen edge on. We call it the Milky Way. They saw it brighter and clearer than almost anyone alive today ever will. A river of light, splitting the sky in two, every clear night for their entire lives. Imagine being born under that, never having it explained, and never, not once, being able to look away from it for long. You would have to come up with an answer. Everyone did. So what did they think it was? We can't read their minds across 40,000 years, but we can look at what nearly every early human culture independently came up with. And the overlaps are staggering. Almost everywhere, the sky was a roof. A solid dome stretched over a flat world, with the lights as holes, or fires, or jewels, fixed to the underside. The idea is so widespread. It shows up from ancient Mesopotamia to the oral traditions of peoples who never had any contact with each other. And almost everywhere, the dead went up. Over and over, across cultures that never met, the stars were explained as people, ancestors, the souls of the dead, lifted into the sky to become points of light, the campfires of those who came before, still burning, just very far away. When you looked up, you were looking at the people you had lost. Think about what that does to grief. Think about what it does to a night. And running underneath all of it was something simpler and older than any story. Fear and awe. The same feeling you get on the rare night you do see the full sky, that tightening in your chest, that sense of being very small under something very large. That feeling is older than language. The first humans felt it too. They just had nothing to explain it with. So they did the most human thing possible. They started keeping records. In a rock shelter in France called Abri Blanchard, archaeologists found a small, flat piece of bone. It is about 30,000 years old. Carved into it is a winding series of marks, 69 of them, in a snaking, looping pattern. For a long time, people assumed they were decoration, or tally marks for a hunt. Then a researcher named Alexander Marshak looked closer, and he noticed that the shape and direction of the marks change in a sequence, and that the sequence matches something. It matches the phases of the moon: crescent, half, full, and back again, as if someone had sat night after night and recorded the moon changing shape. If he's right, and the debate is still open, then that little piece of bone is one of the oldest known attempts by a human being to track time. Not with a clock, with the sky. And it makes complete sense. The moon is the most obvious clock in the world. It goes through its whole cycle in about 29 days, on perfect repeat forever. Before calendars, before writing, before farming, the moon was already counting for us. Every culture on Earth built its first calendar on it. It's why we still have months. The word month comes from the word moon. So here's a thing worth sitting with. Before humans could write a single word, before we planted a single seed, we were already looking up and using the sky to measure our lives. The stars didn't just give us wonder, they gave us time. But the strangest piece of all is a small smudge of stars you've probably seen without knowing it. A tiny, tight little cluster, about the size of your fingertip held at arm's length. The Pleiades. To the naked eye, most people see 6 stars in it, sometimes 7. And here's where it gets genuinely uncanny. Across the world, in ancient Greece, in Aboriginal Australia, among Native American nations, in Japan, this exact cluster is, over and over again, 7 sisters, 7 young women. And in culture after culture, there's a version of the same detail. One of the sisters is lost or hidden or being chased. Greece and Australia did not share this story. These cultures were separated by tens of thousands of years and the entire width of the planet. And yet they looked at the same handful of stars and told a version of the same story. 7 sisters, one of them missing. Some researchers have a genuinely astonishing proposal for why. The Pleiades stars are slowly drifting apart. Run the clock backwards far enough, around 100,000 years, and 2 of them would have appeared as one brighter star, meaning that long ago, people may have counted not 6, but 7, and the story of the lost sister might be a memory, a piece of astronomy passed down by mouth, possibly older than every civilization that ever wrote it down. We didn't just look at the stars, we remembered them, for longer than we've had cities or kingdoms or writing of any kind. And the people who may have remembered longest are still here. The Aboriginal peoples of Australia hold what is very likely the oldest continuous knowledge tradition on the planet. Tens of thousands of years of watching the same sky. And they didn't only see pictures in the bright stars, they saw shapes in the dark, in the black dust lanes of the Milky Way itself. The most famous is the emu in the sky, an enormous emu, outlined not by stars but by the darkness between them. When the emu appears in a certain position, it tells you it's the season to collect emu eggs. The sky was a calendar you could read with your eyes. Woven into songs passed down across hundreds of generations, the stars carried the timing of the seasons, the routes across a continent with no maps, and the law itself. Navigation, agriculture, memory, story, and ritual, all of it encoded in the lights overhead. This is the part we tend to forget. For the first humans, looking up wasn't a hobby, it was the original science, the first database, the first internet, written in the one thing every human everywhere could see. The sky was how we kept everything we knew. So tonight, if you go outside and look up, understand what you're actually doing. You are doing the single oldest human thing there is. Older than farming, older than cities, older maybe than language itself. You are standing in the dark, looking at the same lights your oldest ancestors looked at, asking the same question they asked. What is that? And what does it mean? They didn't have our answers, but they had our wonder. And it turns out the wonder came first, the staring up, the not looking away, the refusing to accept that the lights meant nothing. That impulse built our calendars, our myths, our gods, and eventually every telescope and every equation that finally told us what we were looking at. We figured out the stars, but first, the stars made us human. So go outside tonight, look up, and feel the thing they felt. Subscribe if the kind of question that unsettles you is also the kind you can't stop thinking about. See you out there.